Um, Hello everyone. So while people may join, like every week, we'll present what we've been working on this week. So it's just a nicer changelog. It'll also give you the opportunity to ask us questions, give us feedback. But it's just a way to see how it's done behind the scene. This week we have two people that are off. But otherwise you have an almost full team. So, well, three people that are off actually. So there was a lot of design refactors from Guilhem, a few of them that got merged, which give a pleasant experience of aesthetic on the main page. Guilhem doesn't work on Friday, so you won't be able to print his work. But yeah, there's a lot of like design refresh. Myself, I'm taking the opportunity of the fact that we are getting more mature on most features to do some refactor. One thing I did behind the scene is we were relying on a pattern on the database, which is listen notify, which is very nice in theory because it allows all the workers to get notification immediately if any configuration change, but it basically require constant connection to the database and it's a bit heavy, especially for things that don't need actually to be triggered immediately. So we've reworked that and there's no more listen notify, which also means it works a lot nicer with PG Bouncer, which a lot of people either didn't use because of this issue or were using but didn't know about the fact that it wasn't fully compatible. There are some other benefits to removing listen notify, but yeah. So there's like refactor like this. We've also made it a bit nicer to build the open source build of Windmill without authentication. It's now just a feature flag away. I've worked on. I'm also making sure that we can basically compile Windmill faster. I've worked on benchmarks, so we can automate benchmarks on our dedicated cloud instance, partnering with UbiCloud to basically create those benchmarks at will. One of the reasons for doing the benchmarks also is that we're going to focus a lot on performance in the next quarter. And yeah, we've continued to do improvement on QuickJS as the default a JavaScript engine for small expression. It's very likely that next week we'll basically remove the compatibility mode. We've basically been monitoring if there was any issues. We actually enabled it by default on the community edition last week, and so far everything seems good. So which is going to be a big benefit for everyone in terms of performance, but also a big benefit from the code organization perspective because we can remove a lot of dependency on Dino. So a lot of things happen behind the scene. Personally, myself, I'm leveraging a lot Claude, and it allows us to be extremely, at least for me, I'm much more productive. So I do feel like Windmill is moving faster than ever, and it's if one day you're interested in understanding how we work now, the help by Claude, I think it's quite nice. Farad, that is off today, is in charge of a lot of the tooling we do with AI, and there's a lot that is moving. And as well as also for the CLI, we're doing a lot of work to ensure that when you're using Claude with Windmill, you get the best experience. We've just merged the fact that it now leverages skills when you're doing Windmill init. So you will have, instead of having one giant agents.md, you get a smarter, you get a much smarter agent that basically is able to use the right skill for doing the right thing. So a lot of change this week, and I'll move on to Hugo.
Yep, thanks. Let me share my screen. Have a few features to show this week as well. All right, so first one is rate limiting for public apps. So public apps are quite great because you can share it with anyone and they don't have to be oath to use it, but sometimes you might share it in some with some random people or on the internet and you don't know what they'll do with it. So we're adding this small feature to basically just limit the number of jobs per minute overall the workspace, which will prevent abuse. I'll explain later why we implemented it, but for now, I think it'll be quite useful more generally. Another feature which I'm still working on, so it's still a work in progress, but it's like a new trigger which we support in our native triggers. So native triggers are like any other triggers, but they make it much easier to set up with third party. So right now we're working with Nextcloud, but it's still work in progress as well. And now we're looking into how to make it easy to set up triggers with Google. And which will basically allow you to trigger scripts or flows either from a change in Google Drive or a change in Google Calendar. And so what you'll have to do is go into workspace settings, connect to your Google workspace using a OAuth, and then you'll easily be able to basically connect to not connect, sorry, create a trigger and say, oh, I want to get an event when this folder changes, or if this file changes extra, or if you get a new event in your calendar, and so on. And then once you set it up, you make a change, and then you get a payload with some information about what changed. So yeah, Google is the second one we're working on, but we'll also kind of look into the most important providers we could add, maybe GitHub next. We don't know yet, but that should make it super easy to work with those. Last thing, let me just refresh my page. Yeah. So what we've done as well is made it much easier to share. I mean, we've made it possible to share raw apps on the hub. So you have this new drawer here, a new button, which will basically make you download some data, like the definition of your app and the bundles, which you will then be able to publish on the hub. And which will be displayed nicely as such. So if it's not approved, it will just be like a front end, so they won't run any. The backend will not be running. But once we approve, we'll publish it on our own workspace, and it will be completely usable. And it's pretty cool. And we also have this code tab where you can see all the runnables and the file content. And so we've been working on this, so of course, so people can share it, but also because we want to embed some of those on our official website. And this is the perfect segue for Tristan to talk about what he's been doing.
Yes, so I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yes, as Hugo said, I've been working on a page called Example that you can access directly on the Windmill website. And the idea will be to provide example of scripts, flows, and apps that you can directly trigger and execute from this section. So you can use this example directly into your workspace, trigger them here, or yeah, just explore how it is built. And as Hugo mentioned, there is a section about apps, so you can click here and then directly access iframes from public apps we released on the hub, and then you will be able to have also access to the code here, and it will allow new people that discover Windmill to directly test scripts, flows, and also apps. And if you like the apps and want to use it directly into your workspace, it will be very easy to fork. So another example of something that is possible to build now with the raw app builder directly on Windmill is this kind of beautiful dashboards. So yeah, it's not deployed yet, but when it will be, the goal is to make it super easy to add this kind of cool flows, apps, and script directly into your workspace. So yeah, looking forward to it. And Diego, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Can you stop sharing screen so I
Yes.
can? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I improved assets quite a bit. So for a reminder for those who don't know, the assets are like Windmill detects statically a new code when you use an asset like a data table, and it detects like which table you use. Like for example, I did select from customer, so it shows up here, and then when you deploy it, you can see all your assets in the assets page. And as you can see, I made it quite a bit better, especially like you can see all your data tables here, all your data lakes, and all your S3 and Azure and everything here. So yeah, quite more practical to look at everything you have in your workspace. And the biggest thing I did is the runtime execution. So before it only detected statically, so you had to write it in code, and now you can see which jobs actually used the assets, even if the query is generated at runtime, and it worked with S3 too. Like for example, if you access like a file, it would say that this script used this file. So quite cool. Yeah, and also it now detects columns. So if you do like select like this, you just see the table here. And if you select some columns, it will detect which columns you use. And you can see like here. Yeah, you can see like, for example, this script used this table with these columns. So yeah, pretty useful to know which job and which whatever used whatever. Yeah, and right now I'm working on the redesign of the runs page. So I hope you think it's a bit cleaner than before. This is before, this is after. But most importantly, it's much more intuitive to use. Like you can right click, you can cancel, you can do the batch reruns and everything. So yeah, I hope to finish this today. And yeah, that's the bulk of what I did. I did make the database manager a bit faster, so I hope you noticed that it's slightly faster than before. I added support for Azure in DuckDB too, so because the problem was that DuckDB themselves didn't support Azure, but now they do since 1.3.4.3, I think, yeah. Yeah, pretty much it for me. Alex, you can go next.
Cool. Let me share my screen. All right. Let me find the right window. So on the feature side this week, I finished 2 features that were requested by some customers. One was for Microsoft SQL servers to add an other authentication option, which uses Windows integrated authentication using Kerberos and the GSS API library. Earlier, you had to basically work around this by using Python, and then in Python use GSS API to access your Microsoft SQL server. So now this will work directly in the native Microsoft SQL language. So just toggle this and it will ignore the username password field and basically search on your worker's Kerberos ticket. This also works on Windows workers, so might be useful for those using Windows workers. And on a similar note with Kafka, we also now support GSS API in the security section. So again, you can provide your Kerberos details, and yeah, it will authenticate using GSS API for your Kafka triggers. Other than that, this week I was working on a bunch of internal stuff like AWS Marketplace streamlining and self-servicing, and also self-servicing on the customer portal. But yeah, that's it for me. And I guess, yeah, that was it for us this week. Any questions?
Check on YouTube, but I think I think we're good. Cool. Well, if there is no questions here, and yeah, I think the only thing I missed is I've been to I've done one podcast with a data sommelier, so it's in French, so might not be visible for everyone. But also I was at the data Cloud Native Days conference in Paris, and in general, we'll do a lot more of those public events. As you know, the product is getting to a very nice point and focusing on visibility. If you have any recommendation of like events to participate in and everything, let us know. But yeah, I think we're gonna try to make a bit more noise this year, and we wish you a great weekend. Have a nice Friday, and have a nice weekend, and see you next week. See you.
All right.
See
Yeah.
you, bye.
See you, bye-bye.